welcome everyone to the next generation of network monitoring webinar by Cisco Thousand Eyes and Mannai Datacenter. My name is Razwan Ulhaq. I head the data center business of Mannai. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to Mannai Datacenter, the top tier data center in Qatar and our partnership with Cisco Thousand Eyes. Now, you may be thinking, why should I care about the data center? Well, we all know how frustrating it can be when your internet slows down or your data gets lost in the digital abyss. Now, have you ever lost an important data due to power outage or system failure or network connectivity failure, right? So these are the kind of problems that we at Mannai Data Center, we are addressing through our niche offerings. So as a tier 3 data center, we offer the highest level of availability, reliability with 3 nines of uptime guaranteed. And that's almost as reliable as my morning coffee. I mean, everybody loves a coffee, right? So, and also we are a part of Mannai Corporation, ICT division, which makes us not just a data center, but an integrated services provider for all your IT needs. We offer niche security, optimization, automation, and monitoring services from our data center and a lot more in a subscription model, helping you reduce the TCO and enable the higher ROIs in the long run. We've also implemented multiple layers of physical and digital security to ensure that your data is safe and sound in our data center. So it's kind of like a fortress, but with less dragons and a lot more firewalls. We partner with Thousand Eyes to ensure that our network performance is always top-notch. Now, with Thousand Eyes, we can proactively monitor our network, troubleshoot the issues, and before they even become a problem. It's like having a superhero on our team. But instead of a cape, Thousand Eyes people, they wear their Thousand Eyes t-shirts. So our experience was kind of like very good with Thousand Eyes. So learning from what we saw while testing and everything. So we looked around and we found a lot of large enterprises who are our customers as well. They're facing similar issues when it comes to network application availability, performance, and whatnots. Right, so we decided to help our customers by overcoming their network bottlenecks by building a practice around Thousand Eyes to help the customers through our data center. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for reliable data center that can help you not just sell you co-location services, but rather be a trusted advisor with a consultative approach who are willing to look into your problems and take it further. So we're here to help. Or you can find more information about us on mannai.cloud. It's simple, mannai.cloud. That's our website, and you can have a look. You can have see our services there. Now I will hand over to Martin, a partner client lead for Thousand Eyes, to drive the webinar. And thank you very much again for being here, Martin.
Thank you, Razwan. Yes, good morning, everybody. I'd like to confirm that it is early for me. I'm based in London, in the UK, so my coffee is sitting next to me, as reliable as Razwan's is. So, as Razwan mentioned, we're a partner with Mannai, all divisions of Mannai, strategic and primary partner across Qatar. And what I'm going to do today is just give a very high-level introduction to Thousand Eyes, what it is, why it's relevant, but more importantly, why Mannai have stepped up and identified Thousand Eyes as one of, because I'm not going to say we're the missing piece of the jigsaw, but we're one of the missing pieces in the jigsaw as cloud adoption and internet reliance grows across Qatar. So if I start by asking sort of a simple question, and this will get you kind of understanding why you're here today. It's, as an organization, do you consume or are you delivering services over the internet? Now, the answer to that question for almost everybody on here is going to be yes, because we're sitting here now on Microsoft Teams. So the key point here is essentially all of your customers, okay, and all of the people that you work with, interact with on a day-to-day basis, you all rely on the internet. So if you're using the internet, Thousand Eyes is a product that you should be looking at adopting if you rely on sort of SaaS and cloud-based, or you have a remote workforce. So why are we here? So we're in a new world defined by an entirely new stack. What used to be our own data center is now someone else's data center, and we call that the cloud. Network is no longer corporate MPLS hardwired fiber. We're now using more and more public internet. The application stack that we used to own, not just for employees, but apps that face out to our customers, they're now software as a service. And home is now the new office. I've worked for Thousand Eyes for just over 3 years now, and I can count on one hand the amount of times I've physically had to go into an office. So the center of gravity is now very external. What all of these things have in common is that you don't really own any of it. You've gained the agility, but what you've had to give up is control. And you've taken on the responsibility to deliver service outcomes across a huge number of dependencies that you simply don't own. Now, if we take a step back and look where we fit in, where do we play, and how do we view it from our environments? Well, external dependencies grow, and we shift more and more into that digital supply chain of reliance. We're starting to lose visibility into really how the business operates. Even Thousand Eyes as an entity, as a whole, as a business, we're losing that level of visibility because we've started to migrate off-prem as well. We're leveraging SaaS, we're leveraging all of these mission critical third-party applications that really just don't really work without the internet. And I'm sat in my home office right now. As I said, I'm using domestic internet, connecting into Microsoft Teams so that I can speak to you today. So your apps, your people, your infrastructure are all truly distributed across the globe, across different reliances, and that creates a new world that we operate in. So as you can see, that black box has just kind of zoomed in on the data center, and the things that you do own and control, you've probably got great insight to with the help of sort of third-party partners like Mannai. But once it leaves your front door, once it leaves your data center, you're left really with no process to understand, really no process to see every hop from end to end, maybe from the user out to Salesforce or the user out to Office 365. And what Thousand Eyes does is it shines a really bright flashlight onto every hop that you take along the way. Now, I love a story. And the story I always tell people when I'm introducing them to Thousand Eyes is that I wear glasses. And when I was a kid, when growing up, I used to love reading football magazines. And when I'd go to school, I'd struggle to see the blackboard. And I just thought that was how people saw. But then my parents took me to an optician, and then I realized actually I struggled with my vision, right? But I didn't know any different. And this is what I'm hoping we're going to show you today. I want to be your optician. I want to show you that visibility is possible, because many of you on the call today will not actually know that this type of visibility is even possible. So that's the way I want you to look at this. I want you to go to, if you're not the IT director, the application owners, cloud managers, people that are unaware that this technology exists. And I want you to go to them and say, look, we trust Mannai, and Mannai have brought this technology to us, and it will open our eyes into be able to see things that we didn't know. Now, there's probably a fair few of you now thinking, oh, I wish I had this last month when our website went down, or in January when Microsoft went down. Well, I'm here to show you that it's very easy to to consume this, very easy to deploy. And with the help of Razwan and the team at Mannai Datacenter, we can definitely support you in that. So what does it look like for an IT today, right? Well, according to Gartner, 31% of hybrid IT outages are due to external providers. That means that you only control what is in the first third of this picture, the green, the corporate network. But once you break out into the public internet or into SaaS clouds, you're at the mercy of other people, but you're also at the mercy of who they peer with, who they contract with to deliver services. So when things started to shift to the cloud, we could run a network test from the office to the cloud, and we can measure if, say, what should have taken 5 seconds is now taking 24. And that's fine. Traditional monitoring tools will tell you what the performance is like. But what it won't do is tell you what's causing the issue, okay, where the problem is. So by telling you that the digital experience has degraded, it's telling you not to look for a needle in a haystack. It hasn't even told you what haystack to look in yet. What Thousand Eyes does is it shines that light across those third-party networks and applications that you don't own. And from the days where you used to find and fix the problems yourself, well, you can't find and fix the internet, right? But what you can do is have the evidence to escalate to the right people, whether it's an ISP, a CDN provider, a secure web gateway, or even Salesforce, Microsoft, Amazon, to say your cloud infrastructure is failing and it is impacting my employees' digital experience or my customers' digital experience. So here's an example of this. There was a huge outage 2 years ago for a global content delivery provider. Their DDoS mitigation service went down globally for over 5 hours, a service that is used by the largest organizations and heavily relied on by the major banks in the financial sector globally. This outage was unavoidable, okay, but it had 2 very different outcomes for 2 different banks based here in the UK. One went out for 2 hours and one had a blip for 4 minutes. The customer had the visibility into their customer banking portals. They were using Thousand Eyes. They were immediately able to see the problem, which triggered a failover to their secondary system. Meanwhile, the other bank couldn't figure out what was happening. There was a delay in comms from that provider, and they went down for nearly 2 hours until the DDoS provider had implemented their disaster recovery. So that not only had a massive impact on end users, but also merchants. There were a lot of retailers that lost business that day as they were not able to process simple transactions. It was a significant event for this organization. I'm pleased to say now that Bank A is now a Thousand Eyes customer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how this works, okay? Because you're probably sitting there thinking, this sounds fantastic, Martin, but it sounds a bit too good to be true. Go to the next layer of the onion. So that's what I'm going to do here. So at Thousand Eyes, we have global vantage points, okay? We have cloud agents that are connected to most of the tier 2 and tier 3 networks all around the globe, as well as in public clouds. Okay, they're in about 220 cities globally. And what they will do is they will give you an outside-in visibility of, can people from a certain geographic location access applications or websites? But if you want an inside-out view, we then look at enterprise agents, and they can be deployed within kind of like an on-prem device and within yours or Mannai's data center. Mannai do have one spun up in the DC right now. So if you're a customer of theirs, they can set up these tests for you instantly. Or you can deploy them on sort of edge devices at branch locations. But it also as well for people that work from home, okay, like myself. we have endpoint agents, and these are designed to sit on worker devices, Windows or Mac. And from that, we collect billions of metrics daily across every layer, whether that's user experience, application, DNS, network routing. And we correlate all of these metrics, and from that, we enable collective insight. We surface fault domains where the issue is, who's responsible, and then we enable you to see down, correlate across the different layers. Does the web outage, the web layer testing, page loads correlate with network loss, latency, jitter, things like that? And we provide that in a macro view. Our Internet Insights platform has been described as the weather map of the internet. It's important to see what's going on holistically and then to drill down to individual users. And what we focused on within our platform is providing value to every IT team. A big misconception that we have is that, oh, this monitors the network, so it only benefits a network team. That couldn't be further from the truth. Everyone and everything is impacted within an organization by the internet, by the cloud, by SaaS applications, all external services. So for example, we enable app owners and SREs to troubleshoot and optimize all of their application delivery services like CDN, DNS, to understand how their external APIs are performing. We enable NetOps teams to understand how users are routed to them so that they address suboptimal routing or get alerted to potential hijacks. Customer support is also an important part of delivering all of these services. Many customer support teams are highly distributed and need to connect to call center software and able to simply do their job. It's important to not only communicate effectively with customers, but also be supported in their own ability to connect to digital services. IT help desks can use Thousand Eyes to identify issues, resolve them, make sure that distributed workforce is connected. They also support workers that are on-prem. An enterprise WAN ops team is a really important part of the equation. It's not only ensuring users from branch offices and sites can connect to services, but also ensuring that remote workers and being responsible for remote workers, they have the visibility to identify issues and resolve them quickly. Whether you're working in a corporate office or at home from the kitchen table, your digital experience should not differ. So holistically across the whole org is where we provide value. Traditional silos simply don't apply in this new world as a service-driven economy. So PowerPoint is great, but let me show you an example of this to just kind of highlight what Thousand Eyes can do and the power of the platform. So before I do that, I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions in the chat. I don't believe that there are. If you do have any questions, comments on anything that I'm presenting here, do put it in there. Either myself, Marco, or Razwan will get to that and we'll come back to you. So this is the Thousand Eyes platform. Okay, I would hazard a guess that most of you have never seen this before, but anybody that hasn't seen this before would kind of ascertain that when things are green, things are good. And what we're doing here is I'm testing out to just see to the front door. Okay, I'm not testing the application itself. I'm testing the reachability and availability of Microsoft Online. Okay, now what you can see here is we're doing a web layer test from various locations. In this example, it's across the US. We've got Dallas, Raleigh, a couple of Comcast offices, and Cincinnati. And what we're seeing here is across the board, we've got 100% availability. And then at 1:45, availability drops to 80%. It's consistent, then it comes back up, then it goes back down again. So this is an outage that lasts from 1:45 up until 2:50. So let's call it an hour. And if I click in here, what you'll see is this office here, the Cincinnati office, has got 0% availability. and we can check that in the waterfall here, we can see everything else is taking the relevant amount of times, but we're getting no response. Okay, and we're getting an SSL is timing out after 5,000 milliseconds. So now what we know is this is when your employees, or if this was a customer, what I want you to remember here is we're just testing a URL here, okay? So this could be your front door to your customers. This could be the login transaction page where your customers come to spend money with you. And what do they do if they can't spend money with you? They'll spend it with the competition. So don't just think of this as we're testing Microsoft. We can test any URL that is important to you. So what this is in this example here is at 1:45, and this is a really important thing here. This is time correlated, and I'm not going to move now from this this timestamp. We're going to stay at 1:45. This is when the tickets will start to come into your NOC. People will start to say, I can't access this application. So now the network team, the NOC team, well, they'll start to gather the network team, the application teams, the security teams, potentially the data center teams if it's an app hosted in-house, and the big war room starts. But what we can do is instantly correlate that web layer availability with network layer metrics like loss, latency, and jitter. And what we see here, I've not moved that timestamp, it's 1:45, okay? And what we're seeing here is 6% packet loss. But that is all residing within Cincinnati, okay? Everything else, we're getting 0% packet loss. So now we know it's a network problem. And traditional monitoring tools out there, or some of the tools that you have today, they might give you up to this level of metrics. They might say, okay, I know there's a network fault, Martin, and I know that people from Cincinnati can't access Microsoft in this example. You've not shown me anything revolutionary. What's different about your platform? And it's this. Thousand Eyes path visualization is the technology that gives you hop by hop visibility across the entire network, okay? And this is the technology that Cisco acquired because they saw it as groundbreaking. Now, what you'll see here is across all of the offices, you've got some blue dots and you've got some kind of turquoise dots. The blue dots are the public internet. So this just shows you, in this example, we go across Comcast cable into an unknown ISP, and then it peers into Microsoft, and the traffic passes through to Microsoft over here. In some of the examples down here, we touch a few other ISP providers like AT&T, Roadrunner, Time Warner Cable, until we hit Microsoft. So this is just a visual representation that you touch multiple ISPs across the route. Okay, no, you're never going to get one private sort of connection, really. And we can see here that between MaxiHost and Microsoft in Georgia, we are seeing high levels of delay there, but the traffic is still getting through. Now, the astute eagle-eyed ones on the call today will notice this red dot here, and this is where the packets are failing. We're losing 100% of the packets here within the Microsoft Corporation. So again, this is a fault that nobody could have avoided, okay? These users on the left-hand side have absolutely no control over the Microsoft infrastructure. But what I said earlier about finding and fixing the problem, if the problem was within this customer's infrastructure, they would send a network sort of technician out to do some LAN testing, and they would fix the problem. But what we do is we give you the evidence to escalate. But again, can you just go to Microsoft and say you have a problem within this AS number? Well, that's a bit broad, right? So what you can do is you can drill down into this and go right the way down to the exact IP address, the exact prefix of where the packets are being dropped within the Microsoft network. Now, Microsoft receive tickets they're one of our largest partners and largest customers, actually, because they were getting sent 200, 300, 400 tickets with Thousand Eyes share links asking, can you do something about this? Because this IP address, this prefix is failing. Now, you might be asking what a share link is. It's this here, okay? This is a publicly facing share link. What we do is we allow you to extract data from our portal to share with anybody that you deem it fit. Now, what's really, really unique about Thousand Eyes as well is we're not like a ping test. We're not a testing time, okay? We're proactive synthetic monitoring. This test was actually run over 2 years ago, March 31st, 2021. Okay, that's when this snapshot was taken. So what this means is when people can't get onto Microsoft, for example, they'll log tickets straight away, right? But I'm a home worker. The only time I really leave my home office is when I come to the Middle East to come out and meet Mannai or meet some of my other partners. So I don't really have any expenses. So if I can't log into Concur to do my expenses, well, no one really cares. And if I speak to IT just casually on Teams or something like that, I'll go, oh, by the way, last Wednesday I was trying to book my flights. I just couldn't do it. Well, if you have Thousand Eyes and you have if they have an agent installed on my laptop, they could go back in time and look at when I'm saying the issue was happening, and they might say to me, oh yeah, well, the problem is you were sitting in Starbucks using their unreliable Wi-Fi. That's why you couldn't do it. You had a poor connection. And you can drill right the way down in endpoint examples to see the type of Wi-Fi connection that you do have. So we really do go into a high level of detail across the platform. Now, I'm not going to go into any more of the platform. What I am going to show you here is something that you can go and see right now yourselves. If you go to thousandeyes.com, you can scroll down and you can see the internet outages map. And what you can see here is a global view of the internet over the last 24 hours. And you can see that there have been a few issues with Prolexic, with Microsoft. Microsoft affected 16 different areas. I'm just looking to see if I can see where that was. There we go. It was in Tokyo, Japan. They had quite a bad outage yesterday. It seems that the Asia Pacific region has been relatively troublesome in the last day for network outages. But you can also see here there are applications going down in London. We've got Twitch going down in Dubai. I don't use Twitch, but I know what it is, and I know there are a lot of people that rely on that to go out to their customers. So this just gives you an overall view, and this is a free view. Now, within the platform, you could click into this and drill right the way down, but you can share these if you wanted to. You share it on Twitter and the likes, or just share the overall map with your colleagues. They say, oh, you know, there was a problem yesterday with Microsoft. Well, actually, it was a global systemic problem. It wasn't anything highlighted to us. So thank you very much for your attention and time today. I do appreciate it. I'm going to hand back to Razwan now to just sort of close it out, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.